It took her 37 years to decide to tell the incredible truth about what is really happening in the afterlife. Sometimes there are events in the world that cannot be explained by either science or medicine. And few people would have thought that an experienced doctor who seemed incapable of believing in the supernatural would suddenly tell something that would shock both her materialistic colleagues and many other people. A few decades ago, people who experienced near-death experiences during clinical death preferred not to talk about their experiences, fearing that others would consider them crazy. The same doubts plagued the woman to whom this video is dedicated. One day I tried to explain this to my pastor. He replied that everything that had happened to me was the machinations of Satan and that it was impossible to believe in it. These words upset me so much that I decided never to talk about it again, and I was silent about what happened for a long time. Few people dare to reveal such a truth. It took me 37 years to realize my experience and write about it. Jean Hauschier died when she was 20 years old. John Renee was born into a medical family in 1957 in Kansas City, Missouri. After graduating from high school, she enrolled at the University of Missouri School of Medicine. In the summer, after her sophomore year, an event occurred that had an impact on the rest of her life. Today, Mrs. Hauschier is a well-known practicing ophthalmologist in Lawton, Oklahoma. She is a happy wife, mother of 6 children, 4 of whom are adopted, and grandmother of 6 grandchildren. In 2014, she wrote the book Getting Used to Near-Death Experiences, My Unimaginable Journey, the Near-Death Experience of a Doctor, in which she honestly told about her impressions. In the summer of 1977, the Hauschier family went on vacation to a tourist base near Lake Pomme de Terre. They swam, fished, water-skied, and rode motorboats. During the rest, Jean caught a cold. It was this seemingly harmless infection that became the starting point in the development of the disease that led to her death. After returning to the university, during the qualifying exam, the girl felt that she had double vision, and her eyelids literally did not rise. After finishing the test with difficulty, Jean called her father and told him about her problems. Hermann Hauschier took this seriously, as his wife was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 36. Being an experienced doctor, he did not rule out the possibility that the disease had manifested itself in his daughter. Jean was admitted to Independence Regional Hospital, where her condition continued to deteriorate. Eyelid paralysis developed, the sensitivity of the upper part of the face was impaired, fatigue and severe respiratory failure appeared. The paralysis that started from the face gradually sank lower. The patient could not chew, smile, or swallow. His breathing became increasingly labored. The girl was transferred to the pulmonology department and began an examination to establish an accurate diagnosis. One of the procedures included a sample with the plant alkaloid physostigmine. However, due to a medical error, the patient was given too large a dose of the drug and she fell into a coma. The last thing Jean heard was the heart-rending scream of the therapist calling the intensive care unit. The next moment, she felt that she had left her own body. It happened instantly. The soul just slipped out. That's how she remembers that moment. I watched from above the frantic attempts to resuscitate my body. I had the feeling that I was watching an incredibly realistic film about the everyday life of the hospital. Strangely enough, I wasn't particularly interested in what was happening. My soul was at peace and serenity. Now, I no longer needed a physical body. An amazing shining ball of unimaginably white light appeared ahead, from which perfect love and peace emanated. Despite its infinite brightness, it was soft, did not cause discomfort, and did not dazzle. When consciousness left her lifeless body, Jean did not pay much attention to attempts to resuscitate her. Everything seemed absolutely natural, not to linger, not to be distracted by the bustle below and rush towards the light. It clearly had a mystical or otherworldly nature. This light came from a beautiful central ball that shone brighter than diamonds. The light source was alive, filled with peace and love essence. There was an incredible pure love coming from him, beyond human imagination. Jean felt how her soul naturally, without the slightest effort, rushed to this living, loving light. He penetrated to the very depths of her being. The source of love and the soul, freed from bodily shackles, merged into one. Jean felt and understood everything that this living, loving entity was made of. It was like creating a strong and beautiful fabric from many individual threads. There was clearly a mystical, unearthly realm in front of her. A living, loving, joyful, endless cloud of light, knowledge, wisdom, and happiness. That's where souls rush to after death. A question arose in the girl's head, which can be formulated something like this. What can you show me from your life? What good have you done? And at that moment, pictures flashed before her inner eye. That's what she told me. Suddenly I was back in my childhood. I've gone through my whole life step by step, from infancy to the present moment. It was so strange. Here I am, a little girl, far from home. Then other scenes from the same time, our neighbors, familiar places where I have been. Then I was transported to kindergarten and remembered how I had a doll that I really loved, and then I broke it and cried for a long time. It was a very difficult experience for me at the age of 4. The shots changed one after another. I remembered how I went to a camp in junior high, then my school years, the moment when I had the honor to be elected to the school scientific society. I saw graduation, university admission, my whole life right up to the present moment. These scenes were so vivid. It was as if I was watching my life from the outside, like a film in color on a huge cinema screen. The little girl I saw seemed to be someone else. And at the same time, it was me. When I was looking through the paintings, the light almost disappeared. It went out at the moment when the scenes of my life flashed on. But I could still feel his presence. He noted certain points, emphasized something important in each scene. He kept reminding me of the meaning of love, showing me how important it is to help others. He didn't judge me, even when my actions on the screen were frankly ugly. The light wanted me to evaluate my own behavior and learn the necessary lessons from what I saw. He was also very interested in making sure that I never stopped studying. The whole situation seemed incredibly strange to me. I wasn't just watching the events, I was reliving them, feeling every emotion. But everything was happening incredibly fast. I'm sure it hasn't been long. It seemed like a light appeared, then I saw my life, and it came back again. It was like everything lasted less than 5 minutes. Or maybe only half a minute, I can't say for sure. But it was a joy to watch the scenes of my life. It was nice. It's good to be back in my childhood, at least for a little while. During this rapidly developing event, Jean realized that her earthly body was dying, and the loving light field was the place where her soul would go after death. She was only 20 years old, and she didn't want to die so early. A single word popped up in her mind. No. As soon as she said this word to herself, the movement of her soul towards the light stopped. Jean saw a clear line between the surrounding darkness and the shining, living, loving light. It was incredibly difficult for her to make a decision, to return to life on Earth or to move further into the world. But what was most striking was that the choice was hers. She came to an invisible barrier that she was not destined to cross. Jean did not want to give up her life, her dream of a career in medicine, the opportunity to start a family and have children. The light, warm and alive, completely surrounded her. It felt like a home she had returned to after a long absence. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the shining ball, radiating an incredible amount of pure love. Don't worry, it's too early for you. Come back. The next moment, Jean saw herself in the intensive care unit of the Independence Regional Hospital. She was hooked up to a ventilator. Doctors and nurses were bustling around, noticing that the patient had woken up. They were worried that her condition might worsen again and were preparing for possible resuscitation. But the girl already knew that she would survive. The voice from the light gave her a second chance, granted her the continuation of her earthly path. Clinical death and return became the turning point of her life. Jean felt that she would be fine, the disease would recede. The threat of death has passed, because its purpose on Earth has not yet been fulfilled. Now is not the time to die. A wave of calm and happiness covered her soul. She spent the next month in the hospital. It took almost a year to recover, to learn to walk again, regain strength, and deal with the effects of the disease. The treatment period gave Jean the opportunity to reflect on her experience of clinical death. Her consciousness remained extraordinarily sharp. She felt the thoughts of others, saw not with her eyes, but with her inner vision, realizing what was beyond the physical world. She liked the feeling of freedom. She could overcome any boundaries at will. My thoughts became fast, and my impressions became incredibly vivid. Time has either slowed down or lost all meaning. This experience changed Jean forever. She remembered the incredible beauty of the source of light and love that awaits us beyond the limits of earthly life. From that moment on, the fear of death completely disappeared. At the age of 20, her main concern was excellent grades, achievements, and the pursuit of success. Today's Jean doesn't look like that girl anymore. The knowledge gained at the time of her near-death experience became her guide in life. Then they revealed important moments of the future to her, made it clear that everyone comes to this world with a specific mission. At the moment of death, each of us has a choice: to accept the light of pure and unconditional love and merge with it. There is no reason to fear the end of the earthly journey or the loss of loved ones. We do not disappear into eternal darkness. We do not sink into oblivion, but we return home to a world filled with love and peace. 16 years later, Jean found herself next to her dying father. Herman Hauschier was fighting for his life, suffering from the effects of a massive heart attack. Pain and fear were reflected on his face. He did not want to leave. In the last hours, his daughter bent over him and tenderly told him how much she loved him. And then the expression of fear was replaced by peace, and the pain disappeared. When his soul left his exhausted body, Jean looked up, waved goodbye, blew him a kiss, and said with a smile, "I love you. I wish you a wonderful trip. I will miss you, but I know that we will meet again in a better world." She clearly felt the moment when her father's spirit left. And since then, I have felt his presence in all the significant events of my life. She knew that Herman was still protecting her, even though he was in another world. Jean accompanied her loved ones in their last moments more than once. She saw the pain go away from their faces as a moment of complete peace came. She knew what happened to the dying. She saw where they were going. The experience of clinical death gave Jean a deep realization. The soul after death becomes one with the source of unconditional love, peace, and light. This is a truly amazing journey. Outside of earthly life, there are no more walls and boundaries, there are no physical limitations, and the physical shell loses its significance. Only our true essence remains, the spiritual one. Dr. Hauschier is looking forward with warmth and impatience to the moment when he will be able to return to the world of pure love and meet those who left before. How joyful this reunion will be. In conclusion, let's listen to the words of Jean herself, which sound from the pages of her book. I am sincerely happy for those who are completing their earthly journey. An amazing journey awaits them. Life after death is not a myth, but a reality. I remember my near-death experience more clearly than many events in my life. This knowledge has remained in me forever. Now I clearly distinguish between good and evil in people. I see their true essence. When I found myself in a living, loving light, I was greeted by kind, wonderful creatures who were immensely happy to see me. I felt that millions of these entities loved me unconditionally, and I loved them too. What do you think about the afterlife? Where do you think we will end up after physical death? Do you believe in life after death? Write your opinion in the comments. If you want to learn more about life after death, then I recommend watching my other videos. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it. See you soon.